Welcome to the video, guys. This is the second part of the Smart WebView setup series, and we don't have as such any goals today. We're just going to look into the codes and try to understand and make sense what they are, how they work, and how we can improve on them later on. And okay, Cradle is upgraded. Uh, so Last time we looked into Smart WebView file. That is the main configuration file. That's the only important file for any nuance, beginner, or intermediate even developers. You do not have to get into the depth of it. But if you are into development and you want to contribute to the project or want to work on it or want to customize it basically for yourself or your company or whatever the policies allow you to, um, we are going to look into the other files also, like app rate, for example. It creates a dialogue between you and the user to constantly ask for how the user experience was. Last time, actually, I forgot to increase the font size. Let's do that now. Zoom ID 110, is that fine? Or 25? No, 110 is fine, I guess. This library has been so old now, but still works. That's the surprise. Like, it was last updated in 2016 or 19, I guess. There is also a library called detect connection that checks whether the device is connected online or not, whether it's offline online thing, to switch between offline and online apps. It also helps us determine whether we are going to use the cookies to store the information, or we're going to use some other REST API kind of technology to store information. It's a very small script that's been joined together with the power of Stack Overflow. Okay, device details is kind of a really important thing because sometimes you want to give users the benefit of their device potential. This is basically all the build details in it: brand, host, identity, manufacturer, what's the device model, product name, just some basic information. It's not something huge of a deal. Then there is dialog manager that can be used with a lot of apps. You can create a pop-up dialog or some alert that you want to put within the app uh, as a dialog box. It's not to be put. Dialog manager does not handle your notifications though. We wanted to make file handling a different library in itself, so anybody can actually just take the library out and implement in their apps without even using the smart webview completely if they want, because the most requests and issues we received were regarding files and camera system and all. So this thing here, it handles. This is a really important library now. Okay, so there's Firebase. What this library does is it checks for new tokens, it creates new tokens, it verifies any messages that's been created. Messages are basically the notifications that Firebase is triggering. It helps how your notification is going to be previewed, how it's going to be sent, if you are sending it from your app. It also handles that within the app or via your servers. It basically handles all your notification stuff. You can go line by line here and actually check how and what information you're sending to the user device. We have the icon, title, the main message, whether it can be auto cancelled or not, or it's it has to stay, it is resistant, does it has any specific sound to it, any custom sound to it, and then you launch the intent. Okay, I believe this video is going to have a lot of jump cuts also. Now there's GPS track. It asks for user location from the device. It does not set anything. So if you want to alter it, you can get into it. You can change how frequently it has to check for the location like this. And last time I checked, it's actually broken somewhere. That's why we are not getting the location. So we're going to fix that also in our live sessions. And there's the GPS track, you guys can see. It's a big script. Okay, so there's main activity. That's also an important file, the brains of Smart WebView basically. So these two will cover in the end. Now share activity. Maybe we are not going to cover main activity in this. We're just going to cover functions. Main activity needs or deserves its own separate video. So there's share activity. It helps you share any piece of information, including images and text and links, to your app. For example, if you have a social media kind of application, for example, if you are visiting a website, a blog, there is a tweet button and you tap on it and Twitter opens. And whatever that piece of information that website wants to share with external applications, like for example a summary of that blog or link or an image. So share activity does the same thing and collects the information and sends it to the main activity here, as we can see. And in the main activity, the information is then sent to functions here. And within that functions, it is stored in the cookies in either a blob form or a simple plain text form. So you can easily fetch it, or it can be sent directly to your server. Like we are having an extra intent here for the text, and here is an extra intent for the image, and multiple files even we are handling here with the share activity. Now splash screen, Smart WebView we have already covered all the variables in the first video. Now we're going to cover splash screen. What splash screen does is it gives you an advantage while your application is being loaded. You can have a nice loading screen or your logo to be represented, or some text that you want to show the users. And it's basically a timeout thing, a zoomable timeout thing. You can actually program it to um, let the main page load while this is shown. But a best practice that we have but the best practice that we have understood, but the best practice is to not let it be there until your page loads. Just give it a timeout. Like here we have 5 seconds. If your web page is not loaded, have something on the application end, either on or on the server end. That's why we have a progress bar, so users can actually be at peace that something is loading. But there is a lot more way where how you can process this information. And we have it in layouts, the splash screen. There is an activity splash where you can actually draw. Let's see, yeah. See, Smart Web View comes with this screen. We're going to change it soon. You can have a similar one. Change colors, add images, add text, whatever you want. That can be done here. Now let's get to functions. A lot of libraries are being imported here actually, because this is the nervous system, we can say. It handles all the transactions of information between the application and different libraries. Whatever your requests are, they all go through this functions file. Functions is actually introduced in version 7, which is yet to be released by the time of this video. uh, I hope we'll be releasing it maybe by next month. there's a lot to work on, and we're going to cover it all in the live sessions. We'll go method by method. Yeah, we can just start with the first one. There is a random ID. A random ID can be used at a lot of places where you want some information to be unique. You want to send some data from the user end to the server end, but you do not want it to be the same piece of information that already has been either cached or that's not unique. It actually makes a lot of sense when you get into the codes and want to have something like that. And functions is something that you can easily use anywhere in the program, but you have to delve a little deeper into understanding how this thing works. Now, ASWM view, that's the thing that's responsible for all the things happening within the WebView frame of your app. It collects errors, it takes care of your contexts. It is basically the heart of all the content that has been loaded or to be loaded in the WebView frame. Okay, so what this thing does is it handles where and how you want the links to be opened. You can even open the links in custom tabs or in the main WebView frame also. Now URL actions is here. It can help you create your custom ports, how you want to handle some information. Like for example, there is a refresh port that's a completely custom thing. We do not have any separate library to refresh the URL. Suppose you want to refresh your WebView frame from your server. There is no direct way for you to interact with the app, but we have created this custom port that you can put in the URL, that the refresh that follows up with anything you want, hashtags or nothing. What it does, URL action reads what's the new incoming URL is, and if it has a refresh tag, refresh port to say, it will refresh the page within the main WebView frame of the app the user is using. There is tell, that basic HTML tag. There's a print that helps you print the page, and there is a rate to open the rate dialog separately, and there's share. It helps you share a piece of information from your app to other apps like Twitter and Facebook and whatever the services or notes that are allowed to share information further, or WhatsApp even. Now, if URL starts with exit, it will exit the app off location to get the location of an offline device. There is FCM for Firebase notifications to create Firebase notification for offline apps. There's a permission variable that checks whether you have allowed links to be opened in external browser or you want them to be opened within the web view, or what is your host name. It checks it, and also what are the exception list that you have for different kind of hosts. For example, I allowed GitHub to be opened along with mgks.dev, so all these things will be opened within the web view itself. And if not, it will just launch a new intent for your default browser with this information and open that link into your browser. There's orientation that you can manually change. Like for example, you are creating a game, that app launches in vertical view. Now you want user to start playing the game, and you can manually switch that to horizontal view without any requirement for the screen rotation. And then there's ASWM host. It is just a simple script that slashes and cleans up the link and gets the host name like we are checking here. Then there's pull fresh to refresh the page on pull, and set orientation, the same thing. The forceful orientation change that you can have from your server end or within the app functionalities. You can change the device orientation anytime being within the app. There is no requirement, and we are also setting the cookies to actually get an updated status. We are going to set cookies on all the levels. This is a function that sets cookies, by the way. We're going to set cookies on all the levels with the updated information like tokens and what is the current configuration of the device, and what is basically the custom changes that user is making along the way, dynamically or non-dynamically. So whenever you want to debug the application, you can just pull a single piece of cookie that has all the strings, all the information in it. You can also see the set cookies right here. We're calling the cookie manager, and see, there is a slog cookies that is being printed out in log every time the cookie is set. And also one more important thing is Smart WebView needs to be online to set cookies because we cannot handle cookies when you're offline. We'll get into get info. Get info is also put into cookies. For example, yeah, we can see set cookies device info is here, API, app ID, app version even. So you can pull this information from your server and understand if your app fails, or if not fails, just for information purposes or feedback purposes, that if you are a tactile based service, you should take care of the cookies. And there's get file permission. It checks all the permissions regarding files and cameras and camcorders, whether all the permissions are allowed or not, and what permissions are asked in the default Smart WebView library here, what permissions we have allowed or not allowed. And it checks if it is allowed, it's going to ask for that permission, and if the user has declined the permission, then yeah, there is a limit to it. This get location, it fetches the location of user and set into the cookies, or not only in the cookies, it also can send that piece of information via REST API. And all the cookies, whenever they are set, they are being logged time by time. And this get location is actually being fetched from where is it, GPS track. From GPS track, it's getting all the location information. Well, that's a huge script. You can't all put it here. Now following that, we have get cookies, and it does what it sounds like. It gets the cookies. Any specific cookie you want to request, you can just call for this method, get cookies. It'll it will get that particular piece of information that we have stored in the cookie. That's URL pattern. There is a simple regex inside of it that checks whether the link is valid or not. We could have added a server inspection with some APIs, but our application is not always online. Smart WebView is not going to be always online, and users building apps on it have to have some kind of mechanism that has offline capabilities, and URL pattern does not work on offline files. For the drawer interface, we have on create options menu, options item selected, and navigation item selected with the custom links and everything. Here we have drawer main. Here's the list of it. You can customize it. This is the drawer main. You can add and remove menu items from here, and with their IDs, you can identify what action you want to perform on that particular navigation. These functions are disabled right now because we are not using the drawer method. We have disabled it. Once it is enabled, they'll be enabled also. FCM token helps generate a fresh token or checks whether the token has been changed or not, and stores it in the cookie. Here, set cookie. Then comes check permission. It just checks for the permissions that users have provided or not, either for the location or files, or you can add more permission to it, getting application context and all that. You can add more permissions to it with the different cases and just ask for it whether the permission has been provided or not. It just returns the boolean case. And if you want to set the permission, there is a different method that we have created earlier. There's a create image. It helps create an image and save it to the file directory. There's a create video, does the same thing, sets a name for it, and just returns the file location. So you can use it in your application. There's a get rating that you can use for creating a dialogue with with some context, whether you want to rate it or if you want to give a feedback or do not want to rate it. It can be set as persistent, and how frequently you want to get it, how many days and times that we have talked about in the previous video also. That can be set via Smart WebView rating, yeah, days and times and interval, all that. That will be pulled here. Then there's show notifications. You can customize how your notification is being shown, or you can just create a new notification right from here. It will create a new notification within the app to show this alert, and we'll add a demo notification. Then there's print page. To print the page, you can just launch this method, do WebView print. This is a thing that we've been experimenting to print in a different way, but I believe we have to wait on it to be added to the app. And this exit application that sets the flag and starts a new intent to close the application. All of these are just workarounds. Nothing works directly in this application actually. All are workarounds here. Then there's ask exit. It is a permission variable that see, exit app is something that, suppose something fails within your app, or there's something you want to perform from your server end, an exit routine that you can do with the exit app. And ask exit is something, suppose user is going back again and again, and comes to a point where there is no more history of back pages, but he just want to exit the application, but he's just confused, he's not getting out of the app. So it happens to some new users, new device owners, some old people also. So they go back to exit the app instead of just closing the app itself. So just go back, and you can just set it to trigger when history has ended, there is no going back. Do you want to exit the app? And they can confirm it and just exit the app. See, we are calling this exit app with context here again. That's how it goes. And then there's on navigation item selected, it's just a trigger point for the drawer interface. So we have finally covered functions also. Main activity is something we're going to cover in a different video, because this is the complex piece of information that we have to go line by line, actually line by line, to understand, because it's been a while now, and it was not well commented either. I'm adding new comments line by line to actually help me also understand whenever I come back to this, that this thing does that, and things be a little easier next time we edit it. Okay, so I believe that's it for this video. This is a part two of a longer series, and this is not a live either, because I just realized I'm still not any good at lives, and Honestly, I just goof around too much, and I'm not very good at these things. But we'll get there, I believe, to have a good live session. All right, I believe that's all for now. Bye.